And welcome back to the Hot Lap. We are talking the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix, otherwise known, and I kind of prefer just to call it Imola. Previously the San Marino Grand Prix. It is race week. So race week in Formula One, a circuit that, yes, it does have a history of tragedy. When you look at 1994, it is, though, a fantastic circuit. And it is very hard to overtake, but we'll mostly get into that in a bit. So Imola's F1 contract is due to expire, and all the indications Autosport is saying is it's not going to be renewed, to the point where I don't know when we're going to see Formula One cars on this circuit again. So, as I say again, absolutely savour every moment of this race. Now, in terms of Imola, who then has the most wins in Imola? Well, we have 7 with Michael Schumacher, 3 with Max Verstappen, 3 with Alain Prost, 3 with Ayrton Senna, Damon Hill has 2, Nigel Mansell has 2, Nelson Piquet has 2, Lewis Hamilton, surprisingly, only 1, along with Fernando Alonso, Ralf Schumacher, David Coulthard, Heinz-Harald Frentzen, Riccardo Patrese, Elio De Angelis, got that wrong nearly, Patrick Tambay, and who can forget Didier Pironi. But Michael Schumacher reigns supreme. Somewhat nice, really, isn't it? 99, 2000, 2002, 2003, 2004, and 2006. So all but one of his wins coming in a scarlet car. More orangey red, really, if I'm honest at the time. But there we go. So, Oscar Piastri. We need to talk Oscar Piastri. Australia's longest win streak. Oscar is currently on 3, as you can see in the green. But Alan Jones is also on 3, times 2. And then Jack Brabham on 4. And Jack Brabham also on 5. Can Oscar get this race done? He's on 4. Can he extend that to 5? Can he be the most successful Australian when it comes to win streaks? I guess come Monday we're most certainly going to be finding out. And don't forget, this guy is going to be at the Grand Prix. It is Argentina's Franco Colapinto. They've given Jack Doohan not the boot as such. He's still the reserve driver. Is he even going to get a chance at another drive? Don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But at least for the next 5 races, Alpine have confirmed it is Franco Colapinto, baby. Now, before we get into our track guide, I just wanted to have a look at this. 2024 versus 2025. Top 10 drivers in the standings. As you can see, Max Verstappen was on 136 points in 24. Oscar Piastri on 131 this time around. Fairly close. Perez, though, in last year, obviously he's not here this year, 103. Lando Norris on 115. Third was Charles Leclerc, 98. But it's now Max Verstappen third on 99. So when you actually look at the points, there's not too much discrepancy. Fourth was Lando Norris on 83. Bear in mind he finished second, didn't he? George Russell on 93. Now, when we look at Lewis Hamilton, he is way down in 2024 on 27 points. Now, he's not as far down in 2025, and he's actually scored more points on 41. So, in spite of the difficulties that Lewis Hamilton has been having, he has done better this year than last year. Indeed. So that's how this is the guide. This is what the Imola circuit looks like, but don't worry about that. It looks like a lot of letters, doesn't it, that guide? Because we're going to be driving that very Grand Prix ourselves any second now. And this is our backdrop for our Imola preview. Yes, stunning circuit. Absolutely stunning. Not sure what the weather's going to do yet. We'll probably look at that more towards the end of the week. But what I would like to do now, very much so, is have a look at our track guide. And before we have a look at the track guide, I'm going to magically disappear in a second. So it is quite a medium-y speed track. It does have a long straight. It only has, sadly, 1 DRS zone, which kind of like sucks, really. But anyway, here we go. This is Imola, and we are on the start-finish straight. And it is a long start-finish straight. It's the only DRS zone. And our first chicane is going to be called the Variante Tombarello. You need to get this right here, as you need all the chicanes. Otherwise, you're going to lose so much speed. It's really fast in, flat on the way out into Variante Villeneuve, what a name. And with this really important corner, because it's going to set up the climb up to the hill, is Tosa, Schumacher and Montoya side by side here one year as well, all the way down there. Montoya pushing him off into Piratella. That's the one we're coming up to now. A bit of a weird corner because you turn and it's really easy to go wide, but we're keeping nice and tight down the Piratella to Aqua Minerale. What an absolutely fantastic name. Coming up the hill to an absolute death chicane, otherwise known as Variante Delta. You need to get this right as well. So many people lose so much time in qualifying through neat and tidy. You can also gain if you're very neat and tidy on the way down the hill now to a corner called Ravazza 1, and funny enough, the next one, Ravazza 2. I always think it sounds like some kind of pizza order. But anyway, you need to get a really good exit there, because now we're on to the long straight. That is the start-finish straight, the only DRS straight, where we are going to try and pass our rival. But as we've already said, it is very hard to pass here, which is a bit of a shame, especially because this is, as we mentioned, going to be the last time we're going to see the IMOLA Grand Prix. And yeah, I've had so many good races here. Not me personally, but watching it. My favourite, obviously, David Coulthard winning in 1998. Yes, the McLarens were dominant, but at the end of the race, towards the end of the race, David Coulthard was very much struggling. He was absolutely struggling on those brakes, because it is a quite heavy brake circuit, and ultimately he did win, but Michael Schumacher was catching him towards the end. But anyway, Murray Walker was going absolutely mental, as you'd expect, on the mic. But let's now talk a few facts, shall we, about the Grand Prix at Imola. Okay, so the actual track itself is 4.9 kilometers long. The race length is going to be 309, 63 laps. It has 19 turns. The circuit was first opened all the way back in 1953. Pretty much, I don't think anyone born is going to be watching this, but if you are, well done to you. It was first visited in 1980, a year before I was born, kind of giving away my age there. So far, it's held 31 races. Now, if you want a good time here, well, the lap record is a 1:15.484, courtesy of your own Lewis Hamilton. Michael Schumacher, though, as we mentioned, he does hold the best record here at Imola, but Williams and Ferrari share the record for the most victories, the most team victories at Imola. 5 drivers have taken consecutive wins. Who are they? Well, Nelson Piquet, Ayrton Senna, Damon Hill as well, Michael Schumacher, and of course Max Verstappen. But Schumacher is the only one to have taken consecutive wins at the circuit on separate occasions. Germany has the most wins as a nation at Imola, probably thanks to Michael Schumacher, but only one driver has won by over a lap at Imola. And that was a fairly long time ago, all the way back in 1985, Elio De Angelis in the Lotus. Schumacher, though, has double the podiums of any other driver at Imola, which is why I imagine Ferrari loved him so much. So, we're going from there then. Let's now have a chat about our drivers, shall we? And what I've done this time, I've put the drivers in order of how well I think they're going to do. First up, this guy's not even turning up. So, I think it's fair to say, yeah, he's going to be last. Next up is Bortoletto, simply because it is quite a difficult circuit, and he's in a Stake F1, which is arguably one of the worst cars. And talking about one of the worst cars, Lance Stroll as well. I don't really hold up much hope. Once because he's Lance Stroll, he's had that fantastic start to the season, but it's kind of withered away somewhat, hasn't it? Next up, a man under a lot of pressure, Liam Lawson. Once again, this is quite a difficult circuit, and he's not been doing that well of late. Now, I really don't want him to crumble under the pressure, but that's the concern I have when it comes to Liam Lawson. Ollie Behrman in the Haas, I think, could do fairly well, but all these midfield teams now, they're going to need something special or something to happen during the race for them to get into the points, and which is why I put Ocon alongside him as well. But the man ahead of all of them, his experience, is Fernando Alonso. Why? I may be slightly biased here, but this is the guy that held off Michael Schumacher for lap after lap in 2005. Now, when I say held off, if you were ever watch any F1 highlights or look on YouTube, the F1 channel is going to have it. The last few laps of that race were absolutely amazing. If you remember Nigel Mansell versus Ayrton Senna in 1992, and Senna just held Nigel Mansell off at Monaco. Yes, it's Monaco. It's kind of easy to do that. Mansell was all over him. Here, I think, is even more of a masterclass from Fernando Alonso. There's my little tip. And here we go. The man of the hour, at least going into the Imola Grand Prix, or the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix, is Franco Colapinto. There's going to be lots of questions here. I'm sure he's going to be at the press conference, and I think the pressure is going to be on him straight away with this 5-race apparent deal we have. And I think he's going to do well, but I don't think he's going to be doing as well as his teammate, who is Pierre Gasly. I think Pierre Gasly is going to be fairly solid with the Alpine, if they can get it right. And I think Hadjar, yes, there is a massive gap between Hadjar and Liam Lawson. I think Hadjar's going to do fairly well. He was, I don't want to say anonymous, but I do want to say anonymous. Yeah, sorry Hadjar at the last race. Next up we have Carlos Sainz, who had a solid-ish in terms of pace at Miami, in spite of that last lap hullabaloo with Lewis Hamilton. I think he'll do okay, but I don't think he'll do as good as his teammate. But in between the two Williamses is Yuki Tsunoda, who I think will have a solid, I think if he can get into Q3 even, that'll be absolutely amazing. And that'll be not job done, but that'll be a solid start. And it would be nice if he gets some more points, but I don't really know what the Red Bull is going to be doing there, how good the Red Bull is. I think Albon will have a solid weekend as well. This man is really showing his class up against Carlos Sainz. It's been a long time since he's been up against, funnily enough, Colapinto, and Colapinto did very well against him. So I think he's changed his shit. I think Colapinto gave him a wake-up, really, and Carlos Sainz really gave him a wake-up because he's doing really well. Next up is this guy here, Lewis Hamilton, who I also think could do really well. Now, the reason why I think Leclerc will beat him, it's not because Leclerc is more familiar with the Ferrari. That is a given. But I think Lewis is still struggling on those brakes, struggling to understand how best to slow the Ferrari down because it's so different to the Mercedes, and it's something he has a struggle with. And let's be fair, talking about struggles, the Ferrari team themselves are struggling with the car, which is slightly unfortunate. So I think Lewis is going to have more issues than Charles Leclerc in relation to it, but he hasn't won here, which is more to say than his teammate has not won here. I think he had a chance in 2022, then he stuffed it into a wall, didn't he? Leclerc does Leclerc things, sadly, but I think he'll have a solid weekend. I think if he doesn't beat Lewis Hamilton, it will look worse for Leclerc than if it was the other way around at the moment. With the struggles Ferrari doing, Leclerc is more comfortable in that car. Both of them know this track as well. Next up is Max Verstappen. Yeah, he's a bit far down. I think Red Bull are struggling again. We did a video about the desperation of Christian Horner and Red Bull, essentially being a bit, wow, our car's not as fast as the McLaren, so we're going to throw as much mud as at the McLaren to see if it sticks, which is not, I don't think, particularly, not very nice, is it? I think this guy could do well here, though. He's tested here in the Mercedes before. Yes, it was an older Mercedes, but I think he knows his track quite well. Ultimately, not as well as the others are going to, but I think good things could happen to Kimi Antonelli. But the man that might be stopping him is George Russell. He was, I don't want to say lucky to get that podium, because he was there. You've got to be in it to be win it. But just as the sea parted for Moses, as did things like the safety car and other things happening for George Russell, parted to get a solid result at the last race in Miami. But as you can probably tell, I haven't mentioned them yet, but I'm thinking Oscar Piastri's not going to be as good as Lando Norris here. Why? Because I think Lando Norris has to do well here. I think he has to beat Oscar Piastri. Now, the issue is, we all know Choke Norris, or Mr. Used to be Lando no wins. We can't say that anymore, but we can say Lando not as many wins as Oscar Piastri. I think that will change this weekend. I think Lando Norris is going to win, which is obviously why I've got Lando Norris as our favourite here at the Hot Lap to win the Emilia-Romagna Imola Grand Prix, whatever you want to call it. I get what you mean. Lando Norris to win. Doesn't necessarily have to get pole. He's definitely going to have to start in the front row. And we know Lando Norris can do good starts. We know this. We have faith in Lando Norris. Do you have faith in Lando Norris? Well, comment below. Comment below. Let us know. So, race week, and that is our race preview at Imola. I hope you enjoyed it. If you made it to the end, that's absolutely amazing. If you want to do a bit more, and you already are subscribed, hit that like button. If you're not subscribed, and this has been worth your, hit that subscribe button. We'll talk about Formula 1 all week, along with other motorsports, such as rally, touring cars, etc. But until then, stay safe. We will speak to you soon, and thanks for watching.